The journey of resetting your mind begins not with action, but with silence. The modern world glorifies noise, constant scrolling, endless talking, and a mind filled with unfinished thoughts. But in silence, you find clarity. When you stop reacting to every sound and distraction, your mind begins to breathe again. Spend the first day in conscious silence, not just by muting your words, but by quieting your internal chatter. Listen to your breath as it moves in and out. This is not escape, this is alignment. Silence is not empty. It is full of answers that only appear when the noise fades. The first step in the Shaolin Way is learning to hear your own spirit again, without the interference of the world. When you stop speaking, your energy starts returning inward, nourishing your awareness. One day of silence is enough to show you how loud your thoughts truly are, and how much peace lies behind them. Silence is the first act of true transformation. It is the moment when you stop chasing, stop reacting, and simply allow yourself to exist as you are. The world has trained us to constantly fill our space with sound, with opinions, with movement. We wake up and reach for noise, and we go to bed drowning in it. The mind has forgotten how to rest because it never experiences stillness. To reset your mind, the very first step is to return to silence, not the forced kind, but the conscious kind. The silence that comes when you deliberately withdraw from unnecessary words, distractions, and thoughts. This is not about avoiding life, but about reconnecting to it from the inside out. When you embrace silence, something powerful begins to happen. Your attention, which has been scattered in every direction, begins to return home. You start to notice how much energy is wasted in speech that doesn't matter, in thoughts that serve no purpose, and in emotions that feed chaos. Silence exposes you. It reveals how much noise exists within, even when the world outside is quiet. That's why the first day is often uncomfortable. You may feel restless, impatient, or even uneasy, because you are meeting the real contents of your mind for the first time in a long while. But if you stay, if you breathe through it, the mind slowly starts to unclench. Silence is not a void. It is a mirror. It reflects everything that's been buried under your routines and distractions. It shows you where your energy leaks, where your fears hide, and where your true power lies dormant. The Shaolin Way teaches that the mind cannot be tamed by force. It can only be calmed through understanding. Silence allows that understanding to emerge. When you stop speaking, your energy turns inward. You begin to sense the rhythm of your breath, the tension in your body, and the patterns of your thoughts. You realize how much of your day is lived unconsciously, reacting to one thing after another without awareness. Silence interrupts that cycle. It gives you the space to pause and choose. One day of silence can feel like an eternity, but it's enough to awaken something ancient inside you. You start hearing the whispers of your intuition again. You begin to see life more clearly because the fog of constant thought begins to lift. The mind becomes like still water, reflective, calm, and capable of true perception. From this place, your emotions no longer control you. You can observe them without being consumed. You begin to recognize that peace is not something you search for. It's something you uncover when the noise fades. When you end that first day of silence, you carry with you a newfound awareness. You realize that silence was never the absence of sound. It was the presence of yourself, and in that awareness lies the seed of your transformation. This is the foundation of the 7-day reset, to return to your center, to listen deeply, and to remember that everything you seek outside already exists within. Discipline is the foundation upon which all transformation rests. Without it, the mind drifts endlessly, pulled by every passing desire, emotion, and distraction. On the second day of resetting your mind, The focus shifts from silence to structure. This is the day you confront your impulses, the urges that make you reach for comfort instead of growth, pleasure instead of purpose. The modern mind is addicted to ease, but the Shaolin path teaches that growth begins when you move beyond comfort. Discipline is not punishment. It is the highest form of self-respect. It means you value your potential enough to act even when your emotions resist. When you wake up early, before the world has stirred, you enter sacred time. The stillness of the morning is where strength is forged. You train your body not to chase perfection, but to cultivate presence. Every push up, every stretch, every controlled breath becomes an act of mastery. The mind, like steel, is shaped through pressure. Each time you say no to laziness or distraction, you remind your mind that it serves you. You do not serve it. Discipline transforms willpower into stability. It teaches you that freedom does not come from doing what you want. It comes from doing what is necessary. Desire is clever. It whispers that you can rest today and start tomorrow. It tells you that one skipped routine, one indulgent habit, one lazy moment won't matter, but every small compromise adds up. Each time you surrender to ease, your inner strength weakens a little. To reset your mind, you must stop feeding that weakness. This is not about becoming harsh or rigid. It's about becoming aware. When you discipline yourself, you train your awareness to rise above impulses. You begin to observe the cravings instead of obeying them. You learn that desire is fleeting, but mastery endures. Discipline also means respecting your energy. You start noticing where your focus goes, on what you consume, what you think about, and how you spend your hours. The Shaolin Way emphasizes that energy flows where attention goes. If you give attention to chaos, your life becomes chaotic. If you give attention to discipline, your life becomes structured, strong, and calm. Each decision you make is a vote for the kind of person you want to become. And discipline ensures that those votes are intentional, not accidental. The more you practice discipline, the quieter your internal resistance becomes. The voice that once said, "I can't" or "I don't feel like it," grows weaker, replaced by one that says, "I will." That shift is the true reset. The transformation from reactive to deliberate living. You begin to trust yourself again, knowing that when challenges come, you won't run. You'll stand, breathe, and act with clarity. Discipline gives you that power. It turns fleeting motivation into lasting momentum. And when discipline becomes your habit, the mind no longer bends under pressure. It becomes unshakable, anchored in purpose, and aligned with truth. The breath is the bridge between the body and the mind, the visible link between the physical and the unseen. On the third day of resetting your mind, the focus turns to the power of breath and stillness. This is the day you learn that peace is not something you must search for outside. It is something that already exists within you, waiting to be uncovered through conscious breathing. The way you breathe reflects the state of your mind. When your breath is fast and shallow, your thoughts are restless. When your breath is deep and calm, your mind follows. In this simple rhythm lies one of the greatest secrets to mental balance and clarity. Breathing is life's most natural act, yet it is the one we neglect the most. We breathe without awareness, just as we live without awareness. The Shaolin Way teaches that mastery begins when you become conscious of the simple things. On this day, you are invited to return your attention to your breath, your most constant companion. Begin by sitting in stillness. Let the body relax, the spine straight, and simply observe. Do not try to control the breath at first, just watch it as it enters and leaves. Notice how the air feels as it moves through you, how your body subtly expands and contracts. Within minutes, you will feel your mind start to slow down. The act of watching the breath is a form of cleansing. Each inhale draws in energy and awareness. Each exhale releases tension and thought. As your breathing deepens, the boundaries between body and mind begin to dissolve. You start to experience stillness, not as a lack of motion, but as a state of balance. Stillness is not the absence of activity. It is the mastery of it. When you are still inside, the outer world loses its power to disturb you. You begin to see emotions rise and fall like waves, yet you remain the ocean beneath them. Through the breath, you access this depth. It teaches patience, control, and surrender all at once. In moments of chaos or stress, a single mindful breath can bring you back to your center. That is the essence of the Shaolin mind, calm in the storm, unmoved by distraction. Breathing also purifies the body. It cleanses the energy channels, rejuvenates the cells, and brings clarity to thought. The more aware you become of your breath, the more aware you become of life itself. You start to sense how everything is connected. The beating of your heart, the rhythm of your steps, the flow of your thoughts. Stillness becomes a way of living, not just a practice. And as you sit in quiet awareness, you begin to feel a presence beyond words, a deep intelligence that guides without speaking. By the end of this day, you realize that breath and stillness are not exercises, they are a return home. You no longer chase peace, because you have discovered that it was always with you, hidden beneath the noise of your mind. Through breath, you learn to be fully here, alive, aware, and whole. Awareness in motion is one of the most powerful practices in resetting the mind. By the fourth day, the journey turns from inner silence and stillness to outward action, but with a deeper consciousness behind every movement. The Shaolin Way teaches that awareness is not meant to stay locked within meditation. It must flow into every part of life. Every action, no matter how small, becomes an opportunity to strengthen your presence. When you walk with intention. When you eat with gratitude. When you move your body, you move with focus and control. This is how the physical becomes spiritual. When the ordinary is performed with extraordinary awareness, the body is a reflection of the mind. If your movements are chaotic, rushed, or careless, it often mirrors the state of your inner world. That's why mindful movement is essential to resetting the mind. It unites thought and action. When you train, whether through martial forms, simple stretches, or even daily chores, every gesture is done with full attention. You feel the contact of your feet with the ground, the rhythm of your breathing, the flow of energy through your muscles. Your awareness becomes sharp, alert, and calm. This is not exercise for the sake of strength. It is meditation through motion. The goal is not perfection of the form, but perfection of presence. When you move with purpose, you also begin to notice how much of your day is lost in unconscious repetition. You rush through meals, conversations, and tasks, never fully experiencing them. Mindful movement breaks this trance. It teaches you to slow down and reconnect to the now. The mind that once wandered between past and future starts to settle into the present. You begin to realize that peace does not only exist on the meditation cushion. It exists in every breath, every step, every deliberate act. The Shaolin philosophy sees no separation between training and living. The same awareness that you bring to your practice must also flow into how you speak, work, and interact with others. As you move with awareness, your relationship with your body transforms. You no longer see it as something to push or punish, but as an instrument of mindfulness. Each movement becomes a dialogue between body and mind, between effort and ease. The body learns discipline, while the mind learns patience. You begin to sense that energy flows freely only when resistance fades. Tension leaves, posture aligns, and balance returns. Not just physically, but mentally as well. This harmony between stillness and motion becomes your new state of being. By the end of this day, you understand that awareness is not limited to moments of quiet. It must live in movement too. Every gesture becomes sacred when done consciously. The reset of the mind is complete only when awareness fills both stillness and activity. When you walk with presence, every step becomes a meditation. When you move with awareness, you are no longer lost in the flow of time. You are awake within it, fully alive, grounded, and free. Letting go is the final and most liberating step in resetting the mind. After days of silence, discipline, breath, and awareness, the last lesson is surrender. The world teaches us to hold tightly to our identities, achievements, failures, and pain. We cling to memories, expectations, and the need for control. Yet, the more we hold on, the heavier the mind becomes. The Shaolin Way reminds us that true strength is not in holding but in releasing. To reset the mind, you must learn to let go. Not because you have given up, but because you are ready to begin again. Letting go is not loss, it is freedom. When you cling to the past, you keep reliving it. Old regrets, mistakes, or wounds repeat like echoes that shape your perception of the present. When you cling to the future, you live in anxiety, trapped by what might happen. The mind becomes restless, always chasing or fearing something beyond the moment. Letting go means choosing to exist fully in the now. It means accepting that what is gone cannot be changed, and what is coming cannot be controlled. This realization brings immense peace. It clears the fog of unnecessary thought and creates space for awareness to thrive. Letting go also applies to the self, the image you've built of who you are. The labels, roles, and beliefs that define you are not your true essence. They are just layers of conditioning. When you start releasing them, you meet yourself without masks. It may feel uncomfortable at first, because the ego resists disappearance, but beneath that resistance lies something timeless, a stillness that does not depend on status or success. This is where true reset begins, when you no longer define yourself by external things. You become simple, open, and present. In daily life, letting go also means forgiving yourself and others. Holding on to resentment or guilt is like drinking poison, hoping someone else suffers. The Shaolin approach teaches compassion not as weakness, but as wisdom. To forgive is to reclaim your inner energy from the past. It allows you to move freely without carrying emotional weight. Every time you release anger, fear, or expectation, your mind becomes lighter. You realize that most of your suffering was not caused by events themselves, but by your attachment to them. Letting go is not an act done once. It is a continual practice. Each day you notice what burdens your spirit and choose to release it. Sometimes it's a thought, a habit, or a person who no longer aligns with your path. You bow, you breathe, and you move forward. The Shaolin Way ends where it began, in simplicity. To live simply is to live freely, unattached to what was and unafraid of what will be. When you reach this point, the mind becomes like clear water, still, reflective, and pure. You don't need to add anything to find peace. You only need to remove what hides it. In letting go, you return to yourself renewed, weightless, and awake.